Welcome. Um, yeah, there was so much. I took notes and I'm going to kind of touch upon some greatness that was already spoken. Let's continue this summit. This workshop, we're going to focus on educating and awareness, hopefully to inspire your community and the next generation. My name is Betsy Messenger. I'm part of the Institute for Humane Education team. I'm a facilitator of solutionary teaching and learning. And we'll put in lots of resources at the end that you're welcome to utilize. And I would let my host introduce herself.
Hola a todos, buenos días. Como ya lo dijo, ¿no me escucho? Better now? Ya, gracias Betsy. Hola a todos, como ya lo mencionó Betsy, para nosotras y para mí es un placer que nos acompañen el día de hoy en el panel de educación y conciencia. Y pues les doy la más cordial bienvenida a todos ustedes y a nuestros panelistas del día de hoy. Thank you, Betsy. Gracias, Betsy.
This is the first time Sylvia and I worked together, and it has been a real joy. I would love to deeply thank and introduce our discussants here. They have a wealth of knowledge and they're here to help share their knowledge and experiences in the education and awareness field. First, I would love to introduce Jill Lewis. She's the Executive Director of Northeast Avian Rescue in New York, United States. NEAR's mission is to really rescue, rehabilitate, and rehome captive parrots. And they emphasize on education to the public and to the adopters, which is really essential for the captive parrots. This organization has attended adoption events, lobbying events at the New York State Capitol for the protection of parrots, and education, especially with local colleges. I used to live near there and I was their humane educator. And unfortunately now I live 3 hours away. So I help when I can. Next, I would really love to introduce Kelly Nix. She is the Executive Director for Luvin Arms Animal Sanctuary in Colorado, United States, where they practice ahimsa, meaning non-violence towards all beings.
Wow.
The programming at Luvin Arms Animal Sanctuary is aligned with Colorado's core curriculum with the schools, fostering compassion, concerns for others, personal responsibility, civic engagement, just to name a few. Kelly is also an alum of the Institute for Humane Education. And I'll let Sylvia introduce Isaac.
Gracias, Betsy. Bueno, nuestro invitado Isaac es doctor en Historia por la Universidad Autónoma de Sinaloa. Actualmente Isaac se desempeña como docente en la Escuela Secundaria Adolfo López Mateos, donde él combina responsabilidades de enseñanza con actividades de investigación en los campos de la historia, la comunicación y la educación. Su trabajo refleja un enfoque interdisciplinario que vincula el análisis histórico con las prácticas comunicativas dentro del contexto educativo.
So we've learned and talked a lot already this morning. But why is it a parrot crisis? As Laura Kim spoke in the beginning, most threatened group of birds due to pet trade, up to 100% poaching in some areas. Many die in transport. And any of those who do survive, they have a life in captivity. And we talked earlier about having birds in captivity and the issues around that sort of piece. And what are we here? What are we here today for? You know, our vision today is to come together in this workshop as how we can develop effective outreach programming for schools and in our communities. This is an interactive conversation, the opportunity to learn together and have support with each other in solidarity in this parrot crisis. Please be involved in the conversation. We need your voice for the parrots. There is a wealth of knowledge in this group right now, a lot of different perspectives and experiences, and they are all valid and useful in this parrot crisis. We are in a crisis, there is an urgency to get involved and speak for the parrots. You know, at the Institute for Humane Education, you know, a big picture is if we can really imagine a world where parrots are free, we can make it happen. And I'm a true believer through education. And at the Institute for Humane Education, you know, we really start with cultivating that curiosity, compassion, and inspiration. You know, curiosity, you know, is really needed to have like an open mind to the world. You know, if we can approach the world and have questions and answers, now we're hearing and now we're listening, and we will want to learn more to better understand this crisis in the situation, and then to be open to having how to solve it. So I would love for you in the chat to kind of think about cultivating curiosity, compassion, and inspiration. Why do you think they're important in this work? I'm looking at two screens, so don't mind me. I would love to, because I want to see what folks are speaking here. You're welcome to go into the chat. And why are these so important in this work? Yes, Gail, people have to be first to be curious, right? Absolutely. Definitely. Thank you, everybody. So even from, none of us have a single solution or answer. We need to teamwork. Absolutely. Working together is just how you can really help the mission and help speak for the parrots. So it was so interesting, cultivating curiosity earlier. I loved how, Juan Carlos, you spoke about infographics and things, and those using those pieces, using imagery, using data, using just pictures of cultivating curiosity. And here's just a couple pieces here, just to kind of think about curiosity. Some of you may have seen these pictures before, some of you may have not, but ask yourself questions. What are you curious about in this? These images you see. Who are these individuals? What are they doing? Where are they? What are they up to for the day? Using these kind of imagery and those kind of things, you know, there's the 5 whys is a great exercise to use. I'm a teacher. I work with students and with schools. And it's like the 5, why are they doing this? Why is this happening? Why is this? And then they're getting this curiosity. And when you get curiosity, you kind of get interested. You want to learn more. Cultivating compassion is a key too. And here are some pieces trying to, so you can use infographics, you can use images, many different things. You can use drawings.
En la primera imagen, en la primera fotografía pueden observar, bueno, son loros, pollos de loros nuca amarilla que fueron decomisados por el gobierno y fueron entregados al Centro de Rescate y Liberación en Mávita, en la Mosquite, el cual se encuentra en la Mosquite, Honduras, y fueron recibidos por la codirectora del centro, que es la señora Anaida. En la segunda imagen, donde pueden ver el loro en una jaula, Los loros en cautiverio son los animales más frecuentemente abandonados, siendo como animales de compañía. Y en la tercera imagen, donde vemos a esta persona en un bosque aparentemente destruido, los loros son el grupo de aves más amenazados del mundo. Principalmente, dos de las principales amenazas pues, son el tráfico ilegal, en el comercio ilegal como mascotas, y por la pérdida de su hábitat natural.
If there's supposed to be sound, we're not hearing the sound.
And I appreciate it. I want to go back to Juan Carlos because your tactics were so good of how strong message, short message, continuing that messaging also is another very great tactic. And obviously you've had great success with it. I appreciated hearing about that. But you can also be like, wait, am I cultivating curiosity, compassion, or am I cultivating both?
Bueno, apoyando con la traducción de nuevo, en esta imagen, en esta siguiente diapositiva, guardabosques especializados específicamente para el periquito de sol están enseñando a sus homólogos en Brasil cómo escalar los árboles nido de esta especie. Y en la siguiente imagen, autoridades oficiales en Panamá confiscaron cientos de huevos de loros en el mes de marzo de 2024, los cuales provenían de Nicaragua.
So cultivating that curiosity, getting students or the public asking questions. And in our earlier discussions, it was hard when some people are like, yes, yes, but, and they kind of contradict you. There's a great tactic you can use. It's just saying yes, and you're still planting those seeds like like y'all are talking about, but you can say yes, and you're not cutting them off. You're still communicating, but you're acknowledging what they're saying. Not that you're agreeing with it, but you're using that and to further that conversation of bringing them in to learn, which is really important. So we have curiosity, we have compassion. I am a big advocate, if you're able to, is to go birding, be out in nature, sit and just watch and observe. You can be very still, and the birds you hear them, you'll see them, and just having those immersive experiences with students, with the public, open public programming, doing something. And I know many of you are doing that, which is fabulous. And I also like doing reflection. I see, I hear, I feel, I think, I can. The I can is what can you do for the birds? What little thing can you do, either through education or just communicating, or take someone out birding with you to develop that relationship and that respect and that awe of the birds. So something to think about when you do this. It could be poems. I've done this with my students with poetry, and then we share our poetry, all those kind of pieces. So thinking about all those types of things that you can do. Now we have curiosity, we have compassion, and compassion can be very hard because this is a very Very, very challenging situation. Very, very challenging situation to solve and to deal with. But if we do the education program, we have these young people, the voices for the parrots. This is the most beautiful thing I've seen. And they are inspired. They wanted to do something. They wanted to have messages. This is what they're doing. They're doing a public awareness and action. They're doing something after they've learned and they've developed that compassion towards birds.
Y en este proyecto de inspiración, que precisamente aquí nos encuentra Sani, ellos en Yucatán también trabajaron de los niños, sus mensajes fueron: no los captures, ayuda a los loros, no los vendas, cuídalos, no los mates, déjalos, sálvelos, queremos verlos volar libres.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And I just love this image so much. And I'm looking at these students and I'm looking at their faces and I'm looking at their words and what they've done. And I'm curious to know, you put in the chat, what do you see and feel in these faces of these compassionate, deeply compassionate students and individuals? You're welcome to share. Mm. Thank you, everybody. So I see it was hard for me to read read the chat while everything was going on. Gentleness, they're proud of their work. I feel like they feel like they've done something. That empowerment that someone spoke of earlier. That one step. Definitely. So I would love to ask our discussants. I'll first start with Jill because they've have so much experience. Hey, Jill, I see you there. There's so many people here. What do you think is your most effective teaching approach to helping students, adults, even our community members, to have that compassion towards our non-human animals and to inspire that change in perception, that shift change towards parrots? What have you experienced in your time?
Well, over the years that we've been doing this, we've done education from elementary schools to adoption events. I love to educate current owners. We've done a lot of presentations at colleges, vet tech students. I think one of my favorites that we used to do was we'd go to summer camp at one of the local colleges, and it was a summer camp that they put on for students interested in, you know, veterinary fields or animals or things like that they could sign up for. And we'd go in for the day and we would talk to them about what we do. We'd bring a couple of birds so that they could see them. And then we would show them Parrot Confidential. It was a tough thing. I mean, if everybody should have ever seen this. It's the most wonderful tool, I think, to educate people on the plight of the parrots. And we would show them that, and it would just make them start thinking about, okay, here's what they are in captivity. Here's what they'd be like in the wild. Here's the problems with keeping them as pets and things like that. It was a very, very excellent, and thanks to Karen and a bunch of others who put that all together. We would show them that and it would start them thinking, and then they would start asking questions, and we'd spend some time talking to them about all the things that we've encountered and stuff like that. But then we'd always try to end the whole thing on an upbeat note, as much as there's not a lot of upbeat things in this business, unfortunately. So we would have a toy making session so that all the kids could participate in making something for all the birds back here at the rescue. that they would start to understand that they need enrichment. They can't just sit there and here's things that they like to do. Here's how they like to play. And it would really bring them into feeling compassion for the birds and in understanding that they have needs besides what most of them are getting. We do some social media, but that summer camp was always my favorite thing to do. Other than that, we would go to, I like teaching the younger generation because those are the ones that I want to grow up not having a demand to own a parrot, to want to keep them where they belong in the wild. And the young kids, it was fun. They'd see things. It's hard to keep their attention, but we would do elementary schools. We used to do so many educational events, and it really started getting everyone thinking about what was going on. And I think for us, that's worked the best. That was my favorite educational thing we used to do, was that summer camp. It was fantastic.
Thank you, Jill. Thank you for sharing. I'm not,
Sure.
it was, and yeah, it was a lot of fun for me too. Those are the days.
Back in the day when Betsy was there.
Yeah. So I don't know where it is in the chat, but I believe someone wrote about younger children are so compassionate. Yes, there are studies done, many studies out there that that young people, they have this compassion and they really love all beings. And it's around 12 or 13 years old, there's a shift. And there's a lot of research behind that. So that's when Jill talks about working with the younger people and the younger youth and that age group and bringing it forward. There's a lot of science behind working with young people. Yes, I would love to ask Kelly. Kelly is an alum, and I would love to ask her, like you have so much programming there at the animal sanctuary. What are your approaches to helping students, the community, to really have that shift towards non-human animals to really inspire change, and also that they're sentient beings? What kind of programming do you have at your place? And thank you so much, Kelly.
You're welcome. Hi, thank you, everyone. I do want to start off by saying that a lot of what Jill mentioned, we actually do here at the sanctuary as well. And for a little bit of context, we do rescue abused, neglected, farmed animals. So a lot of what I say might be a little bit geared more towards the farmed animal language. But again, here at the sanctuary, we advocate for all sentient beings. We just happen to specialize in working with farmed animals. So I actually, considering how busy my life is, I actually wrote some things down to make sure I stay on track and actually answer the question. So don't mind me as I look at my screen. But as far as effective approaches, what I have seen in the almost 5 years that I've been here at Love and Arms is that our focus really is to start with the connection piece over rather than confrontation. And so people tend to be naturally drawn to stories and experiences, which they can relate to. So when I'm working with a group of people, I focus on helping them to see individual personalities and emotions in our residents rather than overwhelming them with statistics or guilt. Obviously, with our population of animals that we work with, there may be some more controversial things tied to it, considering they are part of the food industry. So the reason why we focus on the connection piece first, but generally I do like to ask, I like to begin by asking people to think about their own pets or their own animals that they have meaningful connections with or have had encounters with. Most people that we have encountered here at the sanctuary have felt that special bond with a companion dog, a companion cat, or even maybe have watched a bird build a nest outside their window. So once they acknowledge that connection, it generally becomes easier to extend that same recognition to other animals. So rather than lecturing about what people should or shouldn't do, we try to create opportunities for direct experience when possible. So whether if that's visiting a farmed animal sanctuary, a wildlife rehabilitation center, or just simply spending quiet time observing animals in their natural habitats, can be very transformative. There is something very powerful about watching a pig love a puzzle or seeing cows form friendships that we have seen shifts people's perspectives in ways that no amount of talking can really achieve. I've also learned that meeting people where they are works better than trying to push them towards a different way of thinking or lifestyle. Also, if someone starts paying attention to where, like their food sources come from, they began noticing how their dog communicates different emotions. That is also meaningful progress. So small shifts in awareness often lead to bigger changes over time. So for us, it's about creating space for people to come to their own realizations rather than feeling pressured or judged. When someone discovers something new about animal intelligence or emotion on their own, it tends to stick with them much more than if they feel that they're being told what to think. And then lastly, what I've also noticed is that once people really start seeing animals as individuals with their own experiences and preferences, the compassion tends to follow pretty naturally. It's about nurturing and expanding that compassion that really already exists in most people. So our focus here is to help remove those like mental barriers or like habits that might be keeping them from extending that empathy to a wider circle of sentient beings.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you for sharing. I
Yeah.
know with Northeast Avian Rescue, the colleges came out to us, and we went to them for programming. Kelly, I know you work with the schools programming, and how do you make those relationships with schools? Do they come to you? Do you go to them? How has that been developed?
Yeah, so it's kind of, we do it in both ways. We will actually have schools. We host many, many field trips here. We also recognize that with our current economic situation, where we know where classroom teachers receive certain budget amounts for field trips every year, that can be a barrier. So then what we do to maybe help remove that barrier is by offering virtual opportunities to visit the sanctuary or to connect with us. But we do have a team of humane educators that will go directly to schools. And previously to coming to here, I was a principal at a K through 12 building. And so I think also having those connections and really understanding how the public school system works here in Colorado has definitely been beneficial in our sanctuary in front of these students. So yeah.
Yeah. Because I see that you're a part of the curriculum. You've got a lot involved with the curriculum. So I think that is probably a tactic, because if we want to get more of this information to going into schools and working with those children, is to think about, okay, in my community, what is the curriculum? What's happening? Who can I connect with? If any of you have children, and you have these groups of families, how do you kind of bring that together? To bring in that humane education component, bringing awareness throughout so many activities. I need to put it in the chat, but we have a really great lesson called the Council of All Beings at the Institute for Humane Education, and basically everybody takes on kind of being the being in a situation and kind of being that voice for that being, and it's a really great lesson of learning about perspective taking and understanding in a situation. So we will put that in the chat a little bit later. Yes, thank you very much. Sylvia.
Gracias, Betsy. Bueno, continuando con los panelistas, es el turno de Isaac de la Parra. Isaac, nos gustaría mucho que nos compartieras cuál es tu enfoque educativo que tú has percibido o has experimentado que ha sido más efectivo para ayudar a adultos o miembros de un grupo a desarrollar más compasión hacia los animales no humanos, en este caso nuestro grupo de interés, que son los citáceos, y en la percepción de las personas. Gracias.
Muchas gracias, Silvia Margarita. Antes que nada, agradecer la invitación y a todos los presentes también saludarlos con mucho cariño aquí desde México, desde la ciudad de Culiacán. Yo laboro en una zona semirural, la cual colinda con los ríos Humaya y Tamazula. Precisamente en la escuela donde yo laboro, hemos notado mucha migración de loros muy hermosos que incluso se llegan a posar a los árboles de la escuela donde yo trabajo. ¿Qué he hecho yo específicamente con respecto a lo que es los procesos de conservación, de cuidado, pero sobre todo de concientización con respecto a mis estudiantes y a la comunidad en la cual pues yo laboro? El lugar donde yo trabajo se llama Aguaruto. Es una zona muy rica en recursos porque hay ríos, tenemos mucha flora, hay diferente fauna también. Específicamente yo trabajo con una metodología que se denomina proyectos comunitarios. A través de los proyectos comunitarios, yo lo que hago es que permito a mis estudiantes a que observen la naturaleza en un primer momento. Observar la naturaleza, darse cuenta de la importancia de la naturaleza en la vida humana, ya que sin ella, pues los seres humanos no podríamos existir en el planeta. Posteriormente, yo considero que la educación debe de ser práctica y experimental, es decir, la educación debe vivirse. Más allá de la teoría, los estudiantes lo que hacen es que realizamos nosotros una serie de recorridos por las zonas naturales y nos hemos percatado precisamente hace apenas, ¿qué será? Una semana, nos pudimos percatar de una amplia migración que nos dio mucho gusto de loros que estaban posándose cerca de un estadio de béisbol de la comunidad y también en nuestra escuela. Precisamente salimos con cámaras fotográficas, en este caso de los celulares, para poder captar en fotografía y en video el desplazamiento y la forma de convivencia que se daba entre los loros. A través de ello les pedimos a nuestros estudiantes que pudieran ellos capturar esos momentos y reflexionar sobre ellos. Y todo eso se transcribió a través de diferentes formatos, como fueron, por ejemplo, breves ensayos, a través de dibujos, a través de un mural, en donde ellos pues plasmaron las ideas que lograron pues captar a través de los paisajes, en este caso de la vista de los loros que se veían muy hermosos y precisamente como deben de estar en libertad. Nosotros trabajamos en mi escuela a través de una serie de proyectos en los cuales tratamos de gestionar recursos de forma interinstitucional con universidades de la localidad, con institutos de capacitación, para poder llevar talleres que nos permitan a tanto a docentes, maestros como a estudiantes poder ampliar nuestro conocimiento, pero también desarrollar herramientas que nos faculten enriquecer la condición necesaria de la conservación de todas las especies animales y también de la flora de la comunidad. Y estamos nosotros pensando ahorita desarrollar, aplicar un proyecto que denominamos una idea funcional para poder conformar grupos comunitarios que nos ayuden a ampliar pues esta conciencia colectiva en nuestra comunidad con la finalidad de educar y desarrollar programas de conservación y de cuidado para que en el caso, por ejemplo, específicamente de los loros, podamos nosotros brindarles en cada periodo de migración espacios seguros para su desarrollo. ¿Por qué? Porque desgraciadamente pues hay a veces actitudes o dinámicas humanas que inhiben precisamente el correcto desarrollo de la vida de estas especies. En este caso, nuestra escuela, pues nosotros constantemente estamos enfocados en generar esta cultura del cuidado sobre el medio ambiente y la naturaleza. y en cada generación escolar, pues estamos nosotros implicados al 100% en poder permitir a nuestros alumnos que lo vivan, que lo experimenten, pero que también ellos generen prácticas y conocimientos adecuados para poder permitir el desarrollo correcto de la vida animal no humana.
Muchas gracias, Isaac.
So like I said before, and there's so many things shared. I love the book. There's so many things shared up above. Picture books are also great. Lessons and activities are also great. Trying to get involved in your schools and with the teachers, with your community members is really important. But I would love to we have about 100 people, to just go into some breakout rooms for a little bit. Here are the questions, thinking about, like, we've already, like, from our first presentation, we already have artists, we have illustrators, from our first session. Like, what skills or talents do you have to help spread this message of this parrot crisis? And what do you envision or imagine in educating about the parrot crisis? What do you want to do? And just have a little conversation, talk it out a little bit. And if you don't have an idea, well, you can still go into these breakout rooms and get inspiration from each other. So I'm hoping there is some kind of constructive conversation. This is just the beginning. And it's really great to have these conversations and to talk about it with an open mind and an open heart and do something as soon as we can. In our group, we talked about going, if you live in this state, going to a library, having a library event, doing a book talk, using One Earth Conservation's book, get it in that library and have a book talk. Those kind of things are very important. Was there anything that really stuck out for everybody? Okay. Is there anything that really you can put in the chat that really stuck out in your conversation with your group that you're
I wanted to bring up, sorry, and I just briefly went into one of the groups and they brought up how the legislation was changed in California for dogs, cats, and rabbits. And it was actually also in West Hollywood, they just passed legislation to ban all animals. So, birds were included in that also. So you can actually make change in your town. If anyone is interested in trying to take action in that way, please reach out to us. We can connect you with groups. You can just, in any small town, it doesn't even have to be a statewide huge thing, but people can make a difference, on that level. All of us have the power to do that.
A great point. This is a global issue, but if we can even start in our own communities locally, educating, do the legislation, getting those local groups on, and then having them join IAPP and getting on Slack, then we can have this network doing something, because then it doesn't feel as overwhelming, right? If we're doing it small and we're growing, and I just see, I am an attorney and interested Zoom user, I would love to know your name, but okay, yeah, share your information, right? All those kind of things. So something to think about. I'm even thinking about it in my own community. I am new to this community area. I'm sorry, Jill, but what can I do? What can I do in my own community? And I'm kind of feeling a little motivated right now, to be honest with you. I would love to hear any last words from our discussants, Isaac or Kelly or Jill. Just unmute yourselves, and you're welcome to share any last thoughts about educating and bringing awareness.
If I may, hello, am I audible?
Yeah.
So I'm from India, and there is a group called Loris in India. Laura Kim and Gail know them. I'm not sure if Shankar is back from his break, but he is part of that group, and I'm working with them. We are trying to have a campaign in the biggest zoo in my state capital at the bird aviary, so that the children who come there and just they like seeing birds, colorful birds, and they want to get those birds. So for them it will be educational about how birds should not be taken from the forest, and that kind of educational material. My thing is there is a lot of bird, what do you say, like a petting zoo kind of thing is cropping up in my state. So they just have all these conures and cakes and all that, and they train them to just sit on people and eat food from their hands and all that, and people pay money to go see that, and then they want to get those birds. So and someone mentioned South Korea. So there are a lot of bird cafes coming up in South Korea. At least in Seoul alone, there are a lot of bird cafes. You just go to the cafe and you spend time with the birds, which is actually dangerous because caffeine and birds don't mix. And I see similar scenes in Singapore as well. So I'm wondering, would it be possible to find groups or people who would do the same, where we put up educational materials in these places where people go because they want to see these birds, and then they might eventually be inspired to get a bird. And if we put these educational material there saying that parrots should not be taken from forest, they should not be held captive at homes, kind of thing, maybe it might not deter all of them, but maybe it will deter a few of them. And I'm wondering if that would be possible to do at a global level, like collaborating with various groups in various countries and exchanging ideas, so we can put up these educational material.
If I may, I'll just chime in, and this is Josh from before. Hi. The IAPP would love to help and serve as a resource and a platform for an effort exactly like that. That's very much kind of in the spirit of what the IAPP do. So please do join our Slack space and throw that idea out there. And that's exactly what it's meant for. It's meant for connection and collaboration. And yeah, I'd love to hear more from you, and we'd love to help you out.
Would Kelly, did you have any last comments here so we can wrap up of our pieces about educating?
No, not anything that I didn't say before. Just keep talking about it. Keep the topic at the forefront of people's minds is all I would say and encourage to do. And I will definitely now be an advocate as well.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you. Jill, do you have any last comments?
I don't at this point. It's gotten a little loud right here, so I won't keep, I'll mute myself again.
Well, you can put it in the chat. Isaac,
Yeah.
I would love to hear if you have any last, as a teacher and educator as well, any last comments you may have.
Resaltar la importancia que tiene la educación en concientizar principalmente a las edades más tempranas, desde educación preescolar hasta nivel secundaria, que es donde yo laboro. Es importante mantener siempre un enfoque sobre el cuidado de la naturaleza, el medio ambiente, y también pues crear una cultura sustentada en el principio básico de cuidar al planeta. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. Thank you, Isaac. Thank you. Yes, start young and maintain the message as children age. Absolutely. Thank you. Discussants, I'm so grateful that you all joined us today. Thank you so much for your time and effort and sharing your knowledge. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Sylvia and IAPP for just having us here and asking me to join. It's been a pleasure. Please, we are here together in this Parra crisis. There's a lot of great ideas here. We just need to get organized with it, and we can do this. We can imagine this. Definitely Josh with the Slack and to get on there. We can have extra Zooms. We just need to get ourselves a little more organized, but I believe it. We can do this, and we can educate for these birds to be free. Sylvia, would you have any last messages?
Thank you, gracias Betsy. Dar las gracias a todos, a los panelistas, gracias por su participación, sus mensajes, a todo el equipo de la alianza, y gracias a Betsy por el equipo que formamos para este panel. Gracias a todos.
Thank you. We got this. Let's keep going.